So guys, this is Chris. Chris was a master builder for Fender.
He's now senior.
Senior master builder.
That's just because I was really old, and I still am.
To say that he knows his business and his mechanics would be an understatement. Now, I had a couple of questions about just luthiery in general and the way things are made, because I'm very interested in making guitars. But I had one question that was particularly useful for me and Lee to ask, which was how much difference does tone wood make to the end result in the sound of a guitar? Do you want to give me the answer?
Sure. My experience, the neck wood and the body wood makes up about 80% of the sound of a guitar.
80%?
80%. That's my opinion. And because I've over the years I've modified lots of guitars for people and as a master builder, and you can take a good sounding guitar and make it sound better, but it's really hard to take a bad sounding guitar and make it sounding better with pickups.
Right.
So the mass of the wood, how they fit together, some pieces of wood don't want to be a guitar. It doesn't matter what you do to it.
That's really interesting.
And does the same apply for solid body guitars?
Yes.
It applies to, you know, the sort of semi-acoustic
Oh
guitars?
yeah, even in some ways more so, yeah.
So I heard a theory, so when I went to a factory that builds guitars for me, the owner said to me, if you take a neck and you tap it, it has a certain tone, a certain frequency, and a body the same, and if you can marry two that would have a harmonious frequency rather than a dissonant frequency, it's more happy to resonate as one thing.
Yeah, I would agree.
You would agree?
I would agree. It's difficult to suss that out. It's sort of a, and I don't want to get too arcane or anything.
Well, no, please do.
It's kind of it's almost a spiritual thing.
Sure.
Because wood, it's a natural thing. You can't really measure these things, you know. It's more of an intuitive thing.
Right.
I mean, when you get down to it.
Yeah.
Because every piece of wood is different from every other piece of wood.
Yeah.
And the way they fit together is different. So one body could be better with a different neck.
Sure.
And vice versa. So when I built custom shop guitars, I always did it more of an intuitive way.
Right.
Obviously, I know different kinds of wood react in different ways, put together, but
I like the spiritual side, because I think, and we should always get, we've had this sort of ongoing debate on our videos about the scientists will say that it's almost physically impossible for woods to have a difference, because you're talking about an electromagnetic reaction.
And I've always said that a guitar is a physics system,
but
and everything makes a difference.
But every
system is the right word.
Every guitarist I've ever met, and every builder I've ever met, says the opposite. You know, says it's all about the timbers.
It is. A guitar is a system. If you think about it, the design of it, the mass of the headstock, the mass of the neck, all of the small things that go into making an instrument, like a guitar, a solid body guitar, all of those things have small effects on the overall system of the guitar. But if you're missing some really key things like the resonance of the wood or the frequencies of the wood, you're kind of starting off in a way that isn't going to get you a good guitar. So
that's really interesting.
Say, shouldn't we, as well? If there is a guitar, if there's a successful luthier out there like Chris, who's had a career, you know, making guitars,
arguably one of the biggest guitar companies.
But if there's a luthier out there that wants to come and put across a counter argument to that and say, actually, in my experience, it doesn't make a difference, because I don't want people to think that we perpetuate this myth just to get you to buy guitars that are expensive. So, but the crazy thing is, everybody that Chappers and I ask that's been successful in making guitars.
Well, you know what? Also, every pickup company I have asked has said the same thing. And pickup companies have a financial interest to sell you the concept that it's mostly the electronics and the pickups, and they don't. There's a reason for that.
It's not. If you start off with an instrument that resonates well and that has a tone and a personality almost, you can put different pickups in it and still have a good result. But if you take a dead guitar, and it doesn't matter what you do to it. Guys would come in and say, you know, I want this guitar to really sound like this and that. And it's like, you know what? Get another guitar then, because this guitar is a turd. Right?
I suppose one thing it probably is fair to say is you can't really correlate price with that. You can have inexpensive timbers that could be amazing.
Or all the other stuff that people talk about. Oh, it's got polyester. You know, that means it's going to sound shitty. But it's not true. It just has to do with the system of the guitar. And I've owned and made guitars that have urethane or polyester as opposed to lacquer, and they sound fabulous.
So you make guitars for loads of really high and famous people.
Yeah, I have.
So just name name a few to the camera that you think people would be interested in.
Well, I did a bunch of stuff for John Mayer. I've done a bunch of stuff. I did a Ron Wood. I can't. Billy Gibbons. A bunch of guys.
Nobody really that
I've
important
never
then.
heard of anyone.
Yeah, then nobody's. Yeah. Look, it's been an absolute
Yeah, it has.
honour to speak to you.
Oh,
sir.
it's
Thank
my
you.
pleasure.
Thanks.
I would love to hook up for a coffee and hear everything you
Yeah,
have
if,
written.
if Fender or Gretsch ever send you to the UK, come and spend some time with us.
Oh yeah,
Amazing.
we'll feed you.
Would you?
Yeah, absolutely feed
And
you.
beer?
Yes.
Oh yeah,
and beer.
But
real
not
beer.
warm.
Mainly
Not
beer.
warm.
Well,
It's got to be cold.
Not as cold as you get over here.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
a bit too cold.
Okay.
See you guys later on.
Cheers.